This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Joining us now, fresh off his stellar debate performance in Fairfax, Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. He's also the Republican candidate for governor of Virginia. 6 weeks to go. Mr. Attorney General, great to have you with us today.
Good to be with you, John. First post-debate interview. You get it.
I know. I'm fired up. We appreciate your doing that. We're special. We're special. So thank you so much. Now, I've been saying all day that I thought your performance in the debate was substantive. And in my newsletter today, I thought that your opponent, Terry McAuliffe, was somewhat entertaining, was kind of like a light show, but I didn't see a lot of substance there. When you got done and you kind of reviewed the whole thing, what was your biggest take on last night's debate, sir?
Well, you hit one of the points. I think it was obvious to everyone who watched the very dramatic difference in substance, in preparation to lead Virginia. And, mostly what Terry did was attack me and say what I had proposed was so bad, though he didn't go into even much detail of that. While I laid out my plans for growing jobs in Virginia and for education, for instance, and also just addressing simple things like how government works. Mm-hmm. Terry demonstrated a decided lack of understanding of that, and I jumped on it. Let's face it. I mean, I've been doing my homework for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared to be governor of Virginia. It's not a place for on the job training. It's not an entry level job. And Terry demonstrated last night, and I think I demonstrated in the opposite. Who's prepared and who's not?
To me, that was the biggest thing that came out of it is, you view this thing, and wherever you are ideologically, you got to come away. You got to come away with the view that, Terry McAuliffe might be having a good time up there, but he had minimal grasp of the issues. Sir, we're getting some static. Are you outside?
No, but I've got you on a headset. Let me take you off the headset.
All right.
Sounds better to me.
Okay, that's much better. Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli with us, fresh off his debate performance last night in Fairfax at the Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. And one of the questions that I had, Mr. Attorney General, is that it seemed to me like whatever question came up, that Terry McAuliffe had a tonic that he was selling. And to him, basically the panacea for all the ills of Virginia was to expand Medicaid. Somehow the expansion of Medicaid was going to pay for everything, solve our problems, everything was going to be fine. How's that work?
Yeah, and after he did that a few times in a row, and I would agree with you, John, he just kept coming back to that as if it's some sort of money fountain. And it's not. I think I've demonstrated pretty clearly, having done my homework on the subject, including talking to Congressman Paul Ryan on the federal side about the likelihood of the federal government matching. And he said, Ken, it doesn't matter whether Republicans or Democrats are in charge up here. We don't have the money to match at the levels the federal government has promised in Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. You couldn't see the room when I said that, but the room visibly reacted to that. Mm-hmm. It was one of these, whoa, kind of a reactions from the folks in the room, because they know what that means in simple math, what it means to the state budget if we're caught in that trap. And Terry not only has no understanding of how the money works with respect to Medicaid expansion and the rest of the budget, but he has no idea how to deal with the possibility that the federal government, shockingly, might not do what it promises. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be a first? Oh, no, I guess it would not, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Now, let me ask you this. One of the highlights we've been playing in our montage, obviously the kind of debate exchange, if you will, between Terry McAuliffe and Chuck Todd, the narrator from NBC, where Todd was just trying to get a number. And one of the comments Todd made was that, well, look, you've been running for governor since 2009. Can't you tell me what your education plan is going to cost? Give me a number. And he wouldn't provide one. What did you make of that?
Well, I'm not sure he couldn't give it to him, he was scared to give it to him. I mean, just two proposals that we've scored that Terry and others have that Terry's put forward are almost $1 billion a year. It's in the $900 million a year range. And like you said earlier, I mean, the only comment he has about paying for this stuff is, well, you know, we'll expand Medicaid. Well, how does that pay for other parts of the budget? And especially $900 million worth. And it really is true. If you could travel around with Terry, I mean, he tells every room that he walks into what they want to hear. And inevitably, that means more money. He said it to the prosecutors. He said it to the farmers. He said it to the folks who care about mental health. And by the way, I've said it to the people who care about mental health. But I tell everybody else that I'm going to put more money into mental health. It's the one area where I talk about actually doing more at the state government level in terms of dollars, but he does it everywhere with no sense of how it's going to be paid for. And Chuck Todd was rather easily on top of that.
Right, just trying to get a number because look, you know, we're down to 6 weeks. I think everybody, Mr. Attorney General, is looking for some specificity in this campaign. I don't think that Mr. McAuliffe was prepared to bring that to the table last night. I hate to beat this to the ground, Mr. Attorney General, but I couldn't follow McAuliffe last night, and maybe you can help me out. I couldn't follow how the $21 billion that the federal government would fund in the first stages of Medicare expansion, how that money would go to anything else, because all that does is that's going to pay for the 400,000 people that are not covered now. So you're going to get the money to pay for it in the short term, but he kept talking about this windfall that would come in. What am I missing?
Well, there you go doing math, John. That's cheating. He wants to say that money is going to be saved in all sorts of other areas of the budget, and then he grabs that supposed savings to pay for all this other stuff that he wants to do. And what I love, and I said it last night, I love it when he gets up and said, well, you know, we're gonna come up with some efficiencies in government. And coming from a guy who doesn't even know who's in the cabinet, to expect them to find inefficiencies in a government they don't understand, don't know how it works, it seems like a bit much. He did run 4 years ago, as Chuck Todd noted last night, and it doesn't appear that he really did anything new or different to learn how Virginia works or learn the people of Virginia in our different regions and so forth. He just hasn't done his homework. And this is a guy who 2 weeks ago so thoroughly, I don't know what the word for opposite of impressed is, disimpressed, unimpressed, the Northern Virginia Technology Council's Tech PAC, that while he was saying, well, you know, when I'm governor, I'm not going to read the bills. I'm going to hire somebody to do that. I'm going to outsource my job. They endorsed me this week. The small businesses, the NFIB endorsed me, statewide organization of 5,500 members, small business members. We're getting the business endorsements because we've got a plan and the experience to carry Virginia's economy forward in a way that grows jobs and grows opportunity, which I think is the biggest challenge confronting the next governor.
Now, corporate income tax reform that you've put on the table, Mr. McAuliffe was questioning that, saying, well, you can't pay for it, you can't get the money for that. But if I understand it, by reforming corporate tax, isn't the object to make Virginia more appealing to companies, especially now that we have a transportation package that they can come in, and you'll eventually get the tax revenue up by adding companies and jobs, right?
That is the idea, and it's important for people in Virginia to realize, as we discuss lowering our marginal tax rates, personal income tax, which is where small businesses pay their taxes, and the business income tax, that just 2 months ago in July, North Carolina passed a comprehensive tax reform package that if we do nothing, their business income tax will get down to about half of ours, actually half of ours, by 2017. And that's the path they've put themselves on. And if we're going to get caught standing still here if we don't react. Now, up here in Northern Virginia, from where I'm talking to you right now, my friend Doug Gansler, Democrat Attorney General in Maryland, is running for governor. He just announced this week. Their election, of course, is next year. And he has said, look, Virginia's eating our lunch here in Maryland. We've got to lower our income tax rate to compete. I mean, Maryland is waking up. North Carolina has already moved ahead to put itself in a position of competitive advantage. We cannot just stand still. And Terry McAuliffe doesn't have to like what I'm proposing. I have a funny feeling I'm not going to get his vote.
Right.
Nonetheless, the notion of his solution of stick your head in the sand and let North Carolina pass us in the left lane, which, by the way, they've done before. They did it with banking laws in the 90s, and banks walked down I-85 from Virginia down into North Carolina. We cannot get out-competed in this area if we want to be a jobs engine and if we want to grow opportunity across the Commonwealth.
Oh, that absolutely makes sense. You've never lost an election. You've also been counted down and out on numerous times. I think you've been underestimated by the major media.
I'm okay with that.
But you always win. I mean, that's the thing. And that's what I've been saying for some time. You know, you look back in political history, there's a lot of formidable politicians that have been underestimated. Probably the biggest example of that is former President Reagan. So let me ask you this. We're going in the final 6 weeks. Everybody knows you're going to be outspent 2, maybe 2.5, 3 to 1. You're down a little bit in almost every survey that's come out. How does Ken Cuccinelli in the next 6 weeks turn the corner and win this election?
Well, right now, John, we have momentum, and we have momentum because people have started zeroing in on the race. And what you find is the more people know, the better we do. The more people know about both candidates, the better we do. Truth is our ally, and it is Mr. McAuliffe's opponent. And so the more time people spend paying attention, the better off we'll do. That's why unbiased groups like the Northern Virginia Technology Council's Tech PAC, the high-tech businesses in Virginia, have endorsed me. They sat down with us for an hour and 15 minutes each. They had a forum in June with each of us where we were answering questions. We were in front of their board of trustees in July. They were extremely thorough, and they decided that I was the best candidate to move Virginia forward in education and opportunity. The small businesses who have plenty of experience with me, defending them, protecting them on the property rights fight, fighting against regulation. I have a 97% voting record with the small businesses of Virginia. They know who's best for Virginia going forward to protect and grow small businesses. And they spent their time studying and learning and doing all those kinds of things. The average Virginia voter doesn't get the opportunity to do that, which is why debates like last night are important, so that people have the opportunity to see me directly, not through the media filter, not through Terry McAuliffe's false commercials, but right directly. They can kick the tires. Hopefully they won't kick me too hard, but and get a sense of what kind of governor I'd be. I think people got a sense of what kind of governor Terry McAuliffe would be when he lost the NVTC Tech PAC endorsement and then tried to bully them into not endorsing me. I mean, if that's what he's going to do as a candidate, God help you if you want to build a building if he's the governor and you need a permit, but the governor's mad at you. Are you going to be able to get that permit? I don't think so. This guy is a bully. He's a bully, and that's something that people have to be concerned about when they think about who to vote for governor.
Well, there's one argument that says it's going to be a McAuliffe administration would be a combination of Chicago politics on steroids and one big happy hour. Hey, Mr. Attorney General.
Hey, people can visit us on Facebook and Cuccinelli.com. We'd love it if they'd get on board and join us.
Okay, we thank you for your time. We're
Thanks,
out of time.
John.
And hey, I appreciate your being on our show as the first post-debate interview. Thank you so much.